Namaste and welcome to a brief overview of commencement of business and prospectus. Promotion of a company passes through two important stages, namely incorporation and commencement of business. Incorporation, the initial stage, involves selecting a company's name, getting the name allotted, and then preparing memorandum and articles of association and making the filing along with the required documents, and that brings the company into existence, and the registrar of companies issues a certificate of incorporation. Once done, the company has to plan to commence business, which is the second stage. Commencement of business for a private company or a public company without share capital is relatively easier. They don't have major steps here. They can immediately proceed to commence business. However, in case of a public company having a share capital, there is a requirement of raising capital as a condition for getting the business commencement certificate. In the process of raising capital, we have a relevance of prospectus, certificate in lieu of prospectus, and also the filing requirement in the form of Form 20A. Once capital is raised after doing the needful under these documents and filings, the company is eligible to get certificate of commencement of business from the registrar of companies, whereupon it can start its business. This particular slide just highlights the 5 stages or 5 major components of the entire process. We will be looking into the subheads under this in the ensuing slide. In this part B video, we will be covering about prospectus types. Please refer to part A video for business commencement and public offer, and part C video for prospectus form and content and prospectus misstatements. These were the issues. Now, in all this, what we were having is, we were talking of prospectus, because when you issue a shares to public, you have to issue a prospectus. That document becomes very important. And we will understand features of prospectus, and to start with, we will study the 6 types of prospectus, like deemed prospectus, red herring prospectus, shelf prospectus, abridged prospectus, and we call it as the private placement offer letter, and we have got the evergreen statement in lieu of prospectus. In the sense, if you are not issuing any of these, then you will be issuing this. Simply put, every share, when it is issued to public or others, it should be supported by one of these documents along with prospectus, or there should be a replacement for it. A statement in lieu of this prospectus. A statement in lieu of this prospectus has to be there. Let us get into it. What is a prospectus? To understand, prospectus means any document described or issued as a prospectus. Still, it doesn't explain to you what is it. It is described or issued as prospectus. Okay. Second point, it says it also includes a red herring prospectus referred to in section 32. Okay, means we have to understand what a red herring prospectus is. Then it says it also includes shelf prospectus as defined in 31. Fine, we will learn shelf prospectus, and it also includes any notice, circular, advertisement, or other document, and we have to observe this here now. Any notice, circular, advertisement, or other document which is in the effect of inviting offers from the public. You need not have to call it a prospectus. You can issue a letter, you can issue a circular, you can issue an advertisement inviting them to buy shares in our company, inviting offers from the public for subscription or purchase of any securities of a body corporate. It is very, very simple. Any invitation inviting the public to buy shares in a company is called prospectus. It is a formal invitation in whatever form it is, but it invites you and expects you to buy shares in the company, and you are a member of the public. That is the definition of prospectus. It is described or issued as prospectus, and it includes these things: red herring prospectus, shelf prospectus, notice, circular, advertisement, or document. Its main purpose is it is an invitation. Invitation, request asking you to buy shares in the company, shares or any other securities. Now, there are a few other requirements here. It says any application form for a security should be accompanied by an abridged prospectus. Means we have to understand what is an abridged prospectus, which should be there as a companion to application forms. And then it says, what is an abridged prospectus? It is a memorandum. Memorandum means it is a summary containing salient features of a prospectus. Means it is a summarized prospectus, a brief prospectus, and it is specified, its contents are specified by SEBI by making regulations. Okay, we understand this now. An application should always have an abridged prospectus. An abridged prospectus is a memorandum prepared as per the guidelines of SEBI. If you are preparing an abridged prospectus, do you need a full prospectus? Yes, it has to be kept in the registered office of the company. And if someone asks for it, when the issue is open, you have to give it. And if you fail to give it, for every default, the company has to pay a penalty of 50,000 rupees. We have seen quite interesting things here now. We spoke of red herring prospectus, red herring prospectus, shelf prospectus, notice, circular, advertisement. We talked of application forms. We thought of abridged prospectus. What is abridged prospectus, and where the main prospectus has to be maintained, and should we give a prospectus if someone asks for it? If you don't give, the company will lose 50,000 rupees and you will be responsible for it. This is regarding basic points regarding prospectus. Now let us go to the types of prospectus. We have got the deemed prospectus. What is deemed prospectus? It is given by a company. It may not be a formal prospectus. It's a document wherein the company makes an offer for sale. And what happens if it is deemed a prospectus? If the law feels, oh, this has to be deemed as a prospectus, then that document is required to fulfill all the statutory obligations of a prospectus in terms of contents, reports, certifications, presentations, filings, etc. Means it is a document which is considered as good as a prospectus. It is not issued as a prospectus, but it is considered as prospectus because of its feature of offer is made to public for sale. What happens is that when a company issues rights shares are given to the members of the company only. When you are a member of a small company, it is not issued to public. It is issued to your group. Maybe it's a small group of 50 to 100 people. But when you issue a rights shares and you also give a scope for renouncing the application right, which can be bought by someone else, then such an offer which becomes available to public by way of renouncement, it may reach hands of more than 50 people. Once it reaches more than 50, it ceases to be private or internal. It becomes public. Therefore, in a court case, it was held that rights issue, whatever document you issue, it will be deemed a prospectus if there is a provision for renouncement in favor of a third party. And if the renouncement numbers exceeds the normal, then it becomes a public issue. And then the document becomes a prospectus or a deemed prospectus. Means, what happens if you call my document as a deemed prospectus? I am as good as prospectus and my responsibilities are as good as prospectus. If the statute expects a prospectus to contain so many details and it wants enactments and rules of law to be followed on contents, it should contain that. If there is a misstatement in the document, punishment will be the same as if there is a misstatement in the prospectus. Means it is as good as the document is offered to public and the person who has received, he may be a person from your own group, but he will be considered as he is a member of public. Therefore, in case of deemed prospectus, it becomes a prospectus by default. It is not intended to be a prospectus. It becomes a prospectus by default as it has converted itself from a private document into a public document because it gives public member right to buy the shares. Now, this is as regards the deemed prospectus. This is when the company offers securities for sale. Then we have got a red herring prospectus. What is red herring prospectus? Red herring prospectus is a regular prospectus. It has got all details as are required by the statute. It is provided for under section 32. It misses only two aspects. What happens normally, we will have a price for a share. When the issue opens, there will be a price for the share. But these days, when there is a band, upper band and lower band, on the day of filing the shares, filing the prospectus, you will not be knowing what will be the actual price. It may be at the upper level, lower level or average. And that also decides your number of securities and what price it is applied for. Therefore, these two things will not be available in the prospectus. When the upper band and lower band on the average price and the value, if it is left vacant in a prospectus and otherwise it is 100% pakka, that is called a red herring prospectus. Does not include complete particulars of the quantum or price of securities. And this prospectus, as usual, is issued prior to the issue of a prospectus, and this is also filed at least 3 days before the issue opens to public or the subscription list opens. Red herring prospect is what we get to know in case of the shares issues with price bands. We will see a specific thing. Now, red herring prospectus the moment the word prospectus is attached to a document, its responsibilities and liabilities are as good as prospectus. For business statements or obligations in terms of contents, it will be as good or as bad as a prospectus. And what happens in case of red herring prospectus? We said the price will be not known to us in the beginning. But once the issue closes, we get to know at what price people have applied, how much they have applied, and what is the exact value. At the time of closing the offer, we have to indicate what is the total capital raised, what is the closing price, and any other details which were not there in the red herring prospectus before, and it will be filled up and filed with both registrar and SEBI, and this is done at the time of closing of the offer. Means this document is issued 3 days before the issue opens with blanks for these two items, and then once the issue closes, it will be filed with the registrar and SEBI. Okay, then this is regarding the filing and filing on closing prospectus, which does not include complete particulars. How does it look like? Have a look at this. This was the issue of DMart, which came 2 years ago. And if you could just close in here now, here you find public issue of n number of equity shares, price of so much, share premium of so much, aggregating up to 18,700 million. This is a red herring prospectus. It came in 2017. It was a very successful issue. Red herring prospectus means it is a regular prospectus, but it is blank in respect of values, prices, and quantities. But we have put the basket size as total issue based on the shares available is 18,700 million. We are just seeing this to understand how a red herring prospectus externally looks like. We have seen red herring prospectus. What is shelf prospectus? Shelf prospectus is just like reusable prospectus. You can use it for more than once. How does it work? It's a prospectus. It belongs to a class of securities issued for subscription, and it can be, the securities could be issued in one or more issues. For example, you make an issue now, issue 1 lakh shares of the same type under the same document. You can issue during the next 1 year, one more time or more number of times, and for that you need not have to issue a further prospectus. Just to say it is a reusable prospectus. But anything reusable has got a validity. We will get to know it. For the present, it's enough if we see that okay, it is for one or more issues, same prospectus. How does it work? Every time an offer of securities is made under the prospectus, prior to the second or subsequent securities, we have to file an information memorandum. What does it mean? For example, I have made an issue in January. Next issue, I want to do it in June. This June is a subsequent issue. When I go into the market in June, before I go there, I have to file an information memorandum. What does it contain? It contains all material facts relating to the happenings during this period in terms of financial position, other prescribed changes from January to June. For example, after June, we want to have one more issue in the month of November. Once again, we file a memorandum of information on what is the progress achieved between June and November. That is what it says, as have occurred between first and previous offer of such securities and succeeding offer. You can use it, then say you have to say from last issue till this issue, these are the developments in terms of finance, project, etc. It's a good idea of avoiding preparing the prospectus once again because it is a long drawn out process. This is a very, very corporate friendly measure. Validity. Okay, reusable for what? It says any class of company may file a shelf prospectus for offer of securities, and it can indicate a period. This I want to use this for a period of maximum 1 year. Say from January to December, let us suppose, or from April to March. You can use it any number of times during this period, but the end of the year, its validity ends. It is just like an expiry date for anything that you buy. And during this period, you can make as many number of offers you want, but the condition is you should give an information memoranda and you should finish it within 1 year, within the validity period. That's good. And every time when you talk of a prospectus there, prospectus is not just the initial prospectus. We have to add prospectus plus the information memoranda. If you say, okay, what is the prospectus of the company for this issue? Regular prospectus plus information memoranda issued by the company till such time. This is a wonderful concept of corporate ideas. This is regarding shelf prospectus, reusable prospectus, recyclable prospectus, wherein you use information memoranda and do as many number of issues till there is a validity period of 1 year. There is a third one, abridged prospectus. We spoke about this. The requirement of company law in respect of every share application is it should be attached with an abridged prospectus with every application, whereas detailed prospectus can be available at the company's premises. Good. Let us see its meaning. An abridged prospectus is a memorandum containing salient features of prospectus. It is a virtual summary of regular prospectus. Contains a precise and brief gist, all the same. It is a ready reckoner. Anybody can see who is the underwriter, what is the project, who is the director, what is the amount envisaged for the project. This is a part of abridged project. Abridged prospectus. What is the implication? Section 33(1) stipulates that when any form for the purchase of securities is issued, you are talking of application form, it must be accompanied by abridged prospectus. We have seen this provision before. This is so much for abridged prospectus. Then comes private placement. In case of private placement, we said company will be selling it to one set of people, and the total people during one financial year should not exceed 200. Let us see what is it. It is offer of securities or invitation to a select group of persons. It is very, very private, closely knit, not publicized, not advertised. They are given a private placement. The word private and placement, it is not distributed. It is placed with a group of individuals, private, through an offer letter. That offer letter itself is a private placement offer letter. This is the document. This is the prospectus. Number of persons not to exceed 200 in a financial year. And here, this is the beauty. If a company is issuing shares, or if it is issuing debentures, or it is issuing convertible preference shares, for each of these, the size could be 200. It is not the total of these three. You make issue of shares, equity shares, there could be maximum of 200 people in a financial year. Convertible preference shares, 200 people. Debentures, 200 people. This is quite flexible. And even when you do a private placement, the monies are payable through check or demand draft or other banking channels, and no rokda, no cash, and no public advertisements. You don't come across. It is all communication between company and the group, private group, and no information to public through media or marketing distribution channels. It is purely private and confidential between the investors and the company. And in case of private placement, there is no need to file. PAS4 refers to the statement in lieu of prospectus or the offer letter. This need not be filed with ROC or SEBI. Otherwise, every time a prospectus or a statement in lieu of prospectus, the filing has to be done with ROC and SEBI. But in case of private placement, there is no requirement to file the offer letter nor the list of to whom the offer was made, which is coming under PAS4 and PAS5. And what is the requirement? Requirement is normal. Once you receive the application with money, you make the allotment within 60 days. And once you make the allotment, file the return of allotment within next 15 days with all details of all security holders. You give the details while filing, not before the issue, but after the issue. And if the amount received, if the company is not able to allot in 60 days, if it is not able to allot in 60 days, it has to refund the money. And if delayed, interest is payable at 12% beyond the 60 days. Because the company can repay it up to 60 days. If it is not able to repay 60, from that day, it attracts interest. And one thing is very clear now. You can't have two parallel private placements. One placement ends and then the next begins. You can't have parallels. No fresh offer unless allotments of an earlier offer have been completed and that offer has been withdrawn or abandoned by the company. Means you are focused. Your private placement pending or on hand always remain one. There cannot be more. One is closed, shelved, dropped, then you take up a fresh one. Any offer or invitation not in compliance with the provisions of this section. If these things are not, if there is an advertisement or a local marketing effort done, it becomes a public offer, it ceases to be a private placement, then it will be treated as a public offer. What is the problem if it is treated as public offer? You have to file a prospectus, it has to be vetted by ROC and SEBI, they have to approve it, and then you have to follow the regular procedure. But if you don't do all those things, you remain private. This is regarding the private placement. And statement in lieu of prospectus. If there is no prospectus, there are situations where the company has to disclose it to the ROC and SEBI that this is what has happened. We have collected this money, and for that they have to file a statement in lieu of prospectus. Means if it is private placement, you don't file anything. If it is not a private placement and if it is not a public issue, it is essential that you file a statement in lieu of prospectus. Means what? Statement in the place of prospectus. I would have filed a prospectus if it was a public issue. Since it is not a public issue, I have filed a statement instead of prospectus. Instead of prospectus. When do we require this? It is essential for a public company to issue prospectus if they are inviting from public. If they are not requiring the money from public, they need not have to issue a prospectus, because they are not collecting it from public. But if you are not filing a prospectus and if it is not a private placement, then you are required to file a statement in lieu of prospectus. It is just to ensure that there is a source for raising the funds and it is done the right way. This is the only purpose. and there is proper disclosure. All said and done, it comes from investors. When it is sent by investors, we should have protection of theirs by looking into how the money is coming. Is it coming to the right project? And is it the right money? And this statement in lieu of prospectus has to be filed with the registrar, signed by all directors or their agents at least 3 days before allotment of shares or debentures. When you are going to issue the shares, 3 days before that, you need to file this document with the ROC. Means the allotment comes only after you file this with the ROC, putting them informed that okay, we are going to issue these shares and this is not to the public, and therefore we are not issuing a prospectus. What will be its contents? It is simply, its contents will be similar to or approximately the same as a prospectus, which contains information given in Schedule 3 of the Act, which is known as Statement in lieu of prospectus. And this is regarding conversion of a private into public company. But the information requirements and the heads under which it comes, they remain the same, almost the same. But it is only the timing and the leniency which they enjoy which makes a difference here. Now, we said if there is a prospectus, there is no need for a statement in lieu of prospectus. But there is an exception to this. Even when a prospectus is issued, you have to file a statement in lieu of prospectus in a special case. We can understand that exception. If the company has issued a prospectus, but the issue failed, the issue did not get minimum subscription. Now the company cannot proceed with the allotment even if it manages to get the money and issue the shares later. It has to file a statement in lieu of prospectus with ROC. A company failing to file prospectus or statement in lieu of prospectus cannot proceed with the allotment of shares. Here, your public issue failed. Your prospectus became a document which didn't fructify into capital. In that case, to proceed further with whatever allotment you want to make, you need to file a statement in lieu of prospectus. It is as good as it is a replacement for prospectus, giving the concerned authorities the details which they need to for a grasp of the project. In this video, part B, we covered prospectus types. Please refer to part A video for business commencement and public offer. Please also refer to part C video for prospectus form and content and prospectus misstatements. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.